Hey everybody, welcome back to season 2 of Drop the Clutch. Tonight is our last episode of season 2. The season is pretty much finished now, apart from the Championship KO Cup. We have champions in all 3 leagues, and, well, of course, we've got a GP champion who is the same as last year.
No surprises there, then.
No, not really. But yeah. What should we start with? Should we start with the Grand Prix?
Can do. We've had, well, let's see. Grand Prix are over. Under 21's over. We've had the challenge. We've got the picks. Review of the season. I would say Smartlick. He was below par all season,
and yet he still managed to win it.
Oh, of course. It wasn't that far below par. But,
no.
But you could see that he wasn't his best. Particularly after his crash in the Speedway of Nations.
Yeah.
But a rider who normally rides it like he is, especially with the field he's up against, he can afford a blip and still come out on top, which is what happened. Really. Robert Lambert's a deserved second place. I genuinely wasn't sure if he would have made it or not. From what I know of Robert Lambert, he is the kind of he's not a confidence rider like Craig Cook is, but he can fold under pressure sometimes.
Yeah.
And when it got tight in Torren, I'm surprised that I'm genuinely surprised that he managed to hold off Lindgren for a silver medal.
He basically, Robert Lambert owes Dan Bewley a fucking steak dinner. Because it was Dan Bewley that kept Lindgren behind him in the final that gave Lambert the medal.
Yeah.
Wasn't it? Because
yeah,
Lindgren went all the way to the final and he had to get second to claim silver. But yeah, Dan Bewley kept him at the back. So again, I'll reiterate, Robert Lambert owes Dan Bewley a steak dinner and several fucking beers.
Yeah. But Robert Lambert actually, that's his highest. It's his highest rank in the Grand Prix. And against this field, I wouldn't have put him down as a top 3 rider.
No, I would have put him top 6.
Oh, definitely, but I wouldn't have said top 3.
No.
Lindgren, go on.
After this year, I reckon he's the only rider that could give Zmarzek a run for his money next year.
Possibly.
Like a real proper run for his money.
Possibly. I think what I'm aware of is riders who get that far and then kind of don't really replicate it in the next season. Singular riders like Patrick Dudek or Leon Madsen, both of them got second place in a Grand Prix series, but then couldn't build on it for the following seasons.
I think Lambert could do better though, because look at how he was in the Sun as well. He knows he's got those kind of performances in his locker. He just needs to be in the right headspace.
Yeah.
Which I think he pretty much has. It's just, his gating is terrible. His gating lets him down big time. Sometimes, because when he's having a good night, he's on it and his gating is fantastic. But when he's having a not so good night, his gating is just shit. That's his biggest issue.
Yeah.
Especially at Grand Prix level, you need to be a decent gator at Grand Prix level.
Yeah, you do. Especially with this randomized start feature as well.
Exactly.
Lindgren, third place. I think most people would have tipped him for second this year.
Yeah.
I still don't think. I still don't think that he will overtake, or he was expected to overtake Smartlick in this season at any point. Second place would have been about where most people would have put him.
I did have him to push Marswick.
Oh yeah,
it was only about 10 points.
Yeah, It was much less. It was much less close than that. Bewley in fourth, however, this is where I actually think Bewley can kick on as well here.
Yeah.
I think next year I wouldn't be surprised if he was top 3.
Yeah, I could see that.
But it's stiff competition at the top now.
Oh, definitely.
If you
you've got a lot of riders that can compete.
Yeah, if you take out Smarslik, everyone sort of below him, say like Lindgren, Bewley, Vashlik, Jack Holder, Lambert, Mickelson, Doyle, all of them easily compete for the top 6. And this is why we had the situation like we had this year, where it was the top 6 was the better. It come the end of the season, it was better to look at the top 6 rather than look at who's going to win the overall championship, because Smarslik's pretty sewn up.
True.
But that's 2024. Mickelson misses out through injury, which it's the Grand Prix. It's tough. I still think it should be the top 8 that progress, but that's by the by.
True. It's one of them.
Yeah, but other than that, it's probably one of the more open Grand Prix seasons we've really ever had.
Yeah.
When you think that every rider in the top 7 won a Grand Prix.
Robert
Lambert
finally won his first Grand Prix.
Oh yeah, there's that. Every rider, I think, from Max Frick upward made a final. As well as Janowski as well, plus Doyle.
Yeah.
It was actually a fairly competitive season if you ignore the fact that Smarslik was a leg above everyone else by the time the SON came around.
He's just very, he had that early season. What's the word?
Consistency.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he sort of just built it. If somebody can say next year, get on his level earlier in the season and be just as consistent, then I reckon we might have a title fight.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
But it's matching his early season consistency.
Yeah, which is that's where a lot of riders come unstuck when trying to compete with him.
Yeah.
But that's 2024. We can look ahead to 2025 because we've had the Grand Prix Challenge now. The first time a Grand Prix Challenge has been held after the Grand Prix Series. It's not quite the way I would have done it, though.
No.
I like that it was at Pardubice. I like Pardubice as a track. I still think it should have been held the night after the final Grand Prix. I realise there's logistical problems with that, but it would make it much more interesting because it would, at that point it's actually at a Grand Prix venue as well.
Yeah.
But that's by the by. Top 4 this year come through, which caught me out, I will admit, because there was Berry that changed at the bottom of the rule book. I don't look that far.
No, it also negates the fact of a final. You may as well just make it a straight 20 heat shootout.
Well, like it was.
That was because of the weather, wasn't it?
Oh no, I mean as in it was before. To be honest, right, the old rules always said you had to have a runoff for like the first. It was like for all the qualifying positions plus like 1 or 2 below or something like that. I think they just introduced the final to negate the need for a runoff entirely.
Yeah.
Which it's fair enough, but at the same time, why bother? The only thing you hold the challenge after the end of the Grand Prix, the only thing a runoff or a final like that decides is the FIM rank, and how useful is that?
True.
Like the only time that comes in is when you have a batshit countback situation like we had at Cardiff.
Yeah.
And that really is batshit.
Yeah, true.
But otherwise, it's a decent enough meeting. Qualifiers from that, Brady Kurtz. Honestly, I think he'll go well in the Grand Prix, Brady Kurtz. He's been strong all season in the British League.
I reckon he will shock a few people.
Yeah, he will. I think he may even have topped the green sheets in the Premiership this season.
Yeah.
If he hasn't, it's either Saifutinov or Doyle above him, and neither of them have raced for over 2 months, at least. So I think of the riders who finish the season, he's definitely top.
Yeah.
I'm fairly sure of it. But I wouldn't be surprised if he actually is top of the green sheets in the Premiership. So yeah, I think he will surprise a few people. It'd be interesting to see how well he does.
That's rolling averages. Don't want that.
You're looking now, aren't you?
I am.
I'll carry on talking. And then from the challenge as well, it's just returning riders from that point. Kurtz is the newcomer. Thompson, Frick, and Kubert are all back in. So
yeah, true.
That's the Grand Prix challenge. It was a decent meeting. I think it worked better holding it after the Grand Prix because there's none of this. Oh, they've already qualified. So you go to the next rider, and then you've got rider 6th and 7th qualifying for the Grand Prix or whatever. So I did prefer that.
He was second behind Jason Doyle.
Yeah, it seems about right. Doyle hasn't raced since July, so
Brady Kurtz was 9.18. Jason Doyle was 9.36.
Yeah,
Frick was third on 9.14, and Satfutdinoff was fourth on 9.12.
Yeah. So yeah, and Doyle hasn't raced since July, so that average has stayed the same.
True, that sort of worked in his favour a little bit.
Yeah. But yeah, I think I'd like to see it come back again this year with the Grand Prix challenges after the Grand Prix, because then it negates this whole thing about whether they actually qualify and if the next rider down ends up becoming a Grand Prix rider or whatever. I'm not a fan of that.
No.
Should
we have a quick chat about the calendar for next season?
We can do, or we can talk about the picks first. So we're talking about riders who've already qualified.
Yeah.
I'm just going to remind myself of the picks. One thing I'm glad about the picks, though, right, is that I am very glad that Kurtz and Frick making it through the Grand Prix challenge did not stop Doyle from getting one.
Yeah. I was going to say that was going to be rough on Doyley if that was the case.
It's been very harsh on him. Because Doyle was going very strong at the start of the season. Yeah. Like if Doyle had been fit all season and carried his form from the start of the season all the way through, he would have seriously pushed Marjalik.
Definitely.
So if he'd have missed out simply because there were already three Aussies.
Yes.
Yeah, there were already 3 Aussies in the Grand Prix, would have been very penal on him.
Oh, definitely.
However, I am glad Wolfenden hasn't got a pick this season. It seem a bit harsh, but he didn't show the qualities of a Grand Prix rider this year.
Yeah. Unfortunately for him.
Yeah. I think a lot of people will disagree. Wolfenden is a popular rider. A lot of people want to see him in the Grand Prix, but he was struggling to beat any of them this year.
True.
So I think it's fair he's made way.
He's also said himself he didn't want to rely on picks year after year after year.
Yeah, and that's I don't know if that's necessarily what he's been doing. It kind of is.
Maybe he'll do out and he'll get back in through the challenge.
Yeah.
Maybe up to his headspace. God, who knows?
Yeah. I'm glad that Mikkelsen has been invited back as well. He would have been top 6 had he been fit.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone can sensibly argue that one.
No, that was painful. Just Christ, that was painful.
Yankovic.
No, why?
No. It's because they want a Czech rider for Prague, obviously. Likewise, Hülkenberg for Germany. Although saying that, I think I did have Hülkenberg down as someone I would have given a pick to.
Yeah.
Yankovic isn't, in my opinion. I can't remember who it was. I said I would have given a pick to, but
Well, if they wanted a Czech rider, it's him or Milik, isn't it? And you're not going to pick Milik.
no, you're not.
You have to be on. Oh, I'm going to say a triggering thing here. You have to be on hardcore drugs to pick Václav Milik as a GP wildcard.
Yeah, I would have had Madsen and Torsell in place of him.
Yeah.
I think it's fair to Madsen. He'd been through an awful lot this season, outside of the sport.
Yeah, I did hear that, but I didn't know what.
No, nor was I. But it was from what I read, it was clear enough that it would have materially affected how he would compete.
Okay,
So
fair enough then.
I would.
Basically, he got robbed a little bit.
Kind of, yeah. Although not by any other rider, in a sense.
Yeah.
So I would have wanted to give him a second chance to say, okay, mate, you've had a shit year. Let's see if you can go again.
Yeah. True.
Which is, in my opinion, that's more what the wild cards are for. It's in between that and giving a young new rider a chance in the Grand Prix.
Yeah.
That's what they're for. It shouldn't just be used to extend the qualifying, like the number of people who qualified from the previous season, like it is at the moment.
True.
I would have had Torsell only off his form in the Grand Prix Challenge, and partly because I couldn't think of anyone else.
Yeah.
That and the fact there's only one Swede in the Grand Prix series, and to be honest, I do kind of want to see what Torsell would have been like in the Grand Prix series. It wouldn't have been a popular choice. That's why they haven't done it.
But I would have liked to have seen that.
Yeah. Then again, I'm the kind of person who will say give Chris Harris a wild card just for the shithousery factor. So I still wanted Chris Harris. I still wanted Chris Harris to win the British final and get a wild card for Cardiff this year, simply because of the shithousery it would have caused.
I mean, yeah.
Hey, I always vote for shithousery.
You'd make a great hockey fan. We live off that. Seriously.
Advocate for shithousery. Well, that's the lineup now. Obviously, SGP2 lineup will probably be announced 2 minutes before the meeting starts.
Honestly, yeah.
We can talk about the calendar for 2025.
Strange.
Goroshan and Torren out, Manchester in. That's it. Otherwise, it's the same.
If I'm being completely honest, I would have taken Prague out, but Prague's such a touristy destination.
It is, and if I'm honest, if it were me, if I'd taken Prague out, I would bring Pardubice in.
Yeah,
I rave about Pardubice a lot, but it is actually a great track. People compare it similar to Landshut, but it is different. It is very slightly more banked and it is a bit wider. So,
as someone who's been to Prague,
yep,
even though it was for a whole 8 hours, it's a very nice city.
Oh, it is.
I need to go back to explore it more because 8 hours is not long enough.
No, and I think you spent half that time in a hockey game anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, where I watched GB get pumped 8-0 by Finland. Still a great day out, though. What did you do on a Sunday? Oh, I just did some country hopping. You did what?
Yeah.
I went to Prague for the day. What do you mean you went to Prague for the day? Exactly what I just said. The annoying thing for me is why the sun is so late.
Oh, that pissed me off as well because
The
I've
last
been
Grand
planning.
Prix is the 13th of September. It's not. It doesn't start till 2 weeks after.
Hmm.
Also, between like, there's like several gaps in the GP calendar as well where you could get it in.
Like there's a month between Morlilla and Riga.
Exactly, you could get it in
Um,
there. You could
yeah,
easily put the sun in there because
it
there's a
seems
month.
it seems odd as well because ever since the um ever since the World Cup, it's always the world pairs of the world team events always been kind of a summer thing.
Yeah,
It's only sort of in the last 5 years where they've started moving it around like that, and
I think
that started.
it's possibly got something to do with Eurosport.
Possibly. I wouldn't be surprised if it is. There probably is some kind of big snooker thing or something happening in the middle of the summer. So
Because that's what happened this year, wasn't it? That's why there was a month between the SOM final and Cardiff,
yeah,
and there
but
was nothing in between.
That's the Olympics. That was obvious.
Yeah, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's down to Eurosport that there's that the
Yeah,
gap there.
yeah. But back if you go sort of pre 2019, it was always the World Cup or the Speedway of Nations occurred over the course of 8 days.
Yeah,
Like you'd start on a Saturday and then you'd finish on the following Saturday. They changed it 2019 because they wanted the SON final to be in Togliatti, which necessitates obviously a load of visas and documentation. You can't sort that shit out in 2 days.
no,
But since then, it's just that's how it's been. Like there's always been long pauses between events, or it's been held at ridiculous times of the season.
yeah.
Like,
It's also cold out in Poland at this time
mm,
of year. It's like colder than it is here.
yeah.
Like
Well, last time the Speedway of Nations was held this late was 2020.
2021.
No, 2020 was around the same time as well, wasn't
Mm,
it? Because they moved it to Lublin and then it got rained out.
yeah,
Um, the move to Lublin made sense. The time of year fucking didn't. But
there you go. 13. It's warm. It's been warmer there today than it has been here.
yeah,
Recording on the 10th of October 2024 for anybody that's that bothered.
any people that bothered has been on the end cards all season. I've made sure of that. um,
But yeah, just to get it in speaking. But yeah, you know.
yeah. But yeah, it's a weird one. They're ending the Speedway Grand Prix season early this year in order to make
Yeah.
way for the Speedway of Nations.
Surely as well, you'd want the sun like only a week after the last Grand Prix as well, because it's 2 weeks. No, it's just over 2 weeks. It's 17 days because the last Grand Prix is on the
Saturday, and then the Speedway of Nations starts on the
13th.
Tuesday. The Speedway of Nations starts on the Tuesday. So,
Yeah.
um,
So surely you'd want it just like the week later.
yeah, the biggest thing that I'm conscious is going to cause major problems, right, is that this is going to clash with playoff fixtures in the leagues,
Yeah.
especially if it gets rained off, which it could.
Yeah. Well, it's Europe, isn't it? At this time of year, the weather's unpredictable. It's freezing cold and it's wet and it's yeah.
Yeah.
Like we saw this at Lublin, when it was in at Lublin at the end of the season. We saw it the first time it was at Manchester at the end of the season. Like it pissed it down all day on the Sunday. You know, I don't know why they've done it because it's going to be worse.
Yeah.
But I can't lie. It would be nice to see GB win it on foreign soil.
Well, that's what I would have said if I joined you in that. If I was able to join in that episode, the SON review episode, because I was thinking, right, okay, GB have done it twice now.
At home.
Yeah, at home. Now show us you can win away from home.
Yeah.
Because in 2018 they came so close at Wrocław.
Again, it was that final. But
and a bullshit scoring system that no one understood. That it meant we were explaining that one for days on Twitter. Like seriously, it's a pairs event. Why use 3-2-1-0? Fucking hell. Anyway.
And then people complain at the 4-3-2-0. Why? It makes sense. It means there's no drawn heats. It means it promotes team riding, because if you're in the middle, you get an advantage. But if you're first and last, you don't get an advantage. You know, it encourages team riding, which is what the Son is meant to be.
Yeah. But it's different to normal, so people don't like it.
Yeah. Even though it is in Poland next season, I bet Poland still won't win it because they haven't got riders that can team ride.
Well, this is the thing. Nowhere is really teaching team riding anymore. You can see it.
The two nations that really know team riding are GB and Australia.
Yeah.
And they're the two teams that have won it the last 3-4 years.
Yes. Oh yeah, because 2023 was World Cup year, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. And GB were agonisingly close to winning that as well. I think it was a point. Was it a point in the end?
I'm looking, but yeah, it's weirdly late in the season this year, which could make it interesting. I was 2, was it?
Yeah. Carry on. Sorry.
Yeah, it's weirdly late in the season this year, the Speedway of Nations, which I don't know. It will clash obviously with like all of the league fixtures and what have you. But at the same time, it means like it won't have an effect on the World Championship. So like if a rider gets injured in Speedway of Nations next year, it won't end their Grand Prix season, for instance.
That could quite possibly be why they're doing that as well.
Potentially, but
that
I don't.
So much up with Eurosport.
That's the thing. I don't see. I can't think of anything that would have made them want to do it. You know, it's not like this year Smarzlik actually lost the world title because he got injured in the Speedway of Nations. He was injured in the Speedway of Nations. We know that, but he didn't lose the title because of it.
That would have made it interesting.
Yeah, and getting injured is part of the sport.
Yeah, that would have made it interesting.
What are them?
Should we move on to leagues now?
We can do. I make a point first. I make a point first about Manchester getting a Grand Prix. Good.
About time.
Yeah. It is about time. Cardiff remains, which could be interesting. We've been saying a lot lately about how crowds at Cardiff have been down, as in visibly down.
Yes,
compared
but people
to
are still going to go to Cardiff.
Yeah, but how many people who would normally go to Cardiff, because they can only afford to go to one of them, right? How many people would go to Cardiff but decide instead to go to Manchester? Obviously, tickets to Manchester are going to be more expensive.
Again, it depends how pricing works. But again, I'd say Cardiff, just because Cardiff's in the city. Everything is within walking distance, whereas Manchester, you've got to get a bus out to the stadium. There's not really much space for a fan zone or like food trucks and things outside.
Yeah, it's true.
It's literally just the football pitches where they had the fan zone for the Sun, which, to be honest, could have been a lot better. It was very half-assed. As somebody who went to the Sun, it was extremely half-assed. And then you literally, that something's got to be like done to make Manchester better for a Grand Prix. Like maybe they've got to close the road off or something. They'll have to put on shuttle buses or something from the city centre because people are going to want to go between the two. And it depends if the £2 single on the buses gets extended or not as well, because I think it's 3 miles out of Manchester city centre. And as much as I love Manchester, it's part of my DNA. God knows what. Gorton is a dump. I love Manchester, and I love the people from Manchester. I love all my friends from there and everything. And some of my family is like not far, used to live not far from there, but Gorton's a dump. It doesn't scream, hello, I'm going to host a Speedway Grand Prix, whereas Cardiff does, because Cardiff City Centre is actually quite nice. And there's a lot of stuff within reach. Say you want a beer, there's about 1 million pubs within walking distance. But if you want a beer at the Manchester Grand Prix, it's either going to be the shit they've got on tap at the fan zone, or there's a tiny club about 5 minutes walk up the road from the track.
Yeah. So these are fair points. What am I going to say?
There is a few pubs up the road as you head towards Denton, but again, they're like 20 minutes walk.
Yeah. Well, maybe they do that. Maybe they do shuttle buses to the city centre or what have you. I remember the World Cup in 2016 when I went. It was a park and ride, but that was about it. And it did everything around it. It did feel slightly cramped looking back at it. Like you leave the fan zone and you're immediately faced with like a row of houses. Like. Exactly. I understand where you're going, and it's compared. Okay, I last went to Cardiff 13 years ago. Yeah. It actually, everything felt open. You could pub hop quite easily.
Exactly.
And you've got street vendors like everywhere selling you flags, air horns, all the usual shit that you would want.
Even if half of it is cheap knockoff shite.
Oh, absolutely.
But yeah, should we have
that I take your point that the counter argument, of course, is that Manchester is by far away the better track.
Yeah, but I'm just saying they're going to have to put in a hell of a lot of effort to make it appealing.
Oh, definitely.
So they're going to have to put a lot of money into it. They're probably going to have the temporary stand again on the east side. As somebody who sat there, the view's not great,
isn't it?
No, not really. It was okay, but it's not. It wasn't my favourite spot. I'd rather be on the south stand or in the grandstand. But
I was going to say, when we went to Speedway of Nations, we were on the south stand, just off the second turn.
I was on the third in 21.
I'm talking 2016.
That's the World Cup then.
Yep.
Fair enough. Right. Enough about the Grand Prix and things. Let's talk about the.
But yeah, I see what you mean by the view being shy. Like, I always prefer sort of just off the entrance to the third turn, standing there.
Yeah.
You feel for the track where the good place is to stand.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I must admit,
yeah.
I like sitting in G block in the grandstand.
Oh, why?
Because you're like right on the fourth bend, like.
Oh right, yeah.
And you're like in the middle of the fourth bend and the start and finish line. It's quite a good view from there.
Okay.
Also, shout out to the guys that sit in Block G at Manchester, because I know you listen to this podcast. I haven't forgotten you, but yeah. Anyway, should we talk about the leagues?
Yes, we'll talk about the leagues. I think the Premiership, the top four were too clear too early.
Yeah.
It was only really a question mark. Once the season got underway, it was only really a question mark whether it was Leicester or Oxford who would get through, and it was Leicester by a country mile.
Yeah.
Ipswich were badly affected by injuries, but I'm very surprised they ran a facility for Doyle as long as they did.
I think it was just because of the way he got injured, wasn't it? Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. Kings Lynn is Kings Lynn. They keep postponing meetings. They won't stop.
Not saying anything. Yeah. Birmingham is Birmingham.
Yeah. I think Birmingham have got a lot of soul searching to do. I think the problem...
they've got a lot of financial backing searching to do.
Well, and I think the big problem with Birmingham was that they were too reliant on two complete unknowns, Václav Milik and Piotr Pawlicki.
Yep.
When I say complete unknowns, right, they're not riders that I would want in a team.
They also hadn't ridden in the league for like God knows how long.
Yeah, but that doesn't affect their ability to ride.
No, I know, but the tracks are like different, and
yeah,
the leagues have changed, and tracks are short, and
yeah, but even still, I wouldn't want either of them in a team. Like,
no.
They're not good. They're not good riders. In truth, I don't particularly like Piotr Pawlicki either.
No, I prefer his brother personally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, at that point you've got two unknown heavyweights, and then what's really the rest of the team is just second strings. Like it was never a recipe for a successful team. Maybe if your top riders were like constantly paging in 8 or 9 points, you might have got
away with it.
Well, off the bottom, but it's
yeah. I get what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it left them too reliant on Tom Brennan. But
yeah,
I would say the bulk of their points. Zach Cook as well, but
Victor Lampard impressed me.
Yeah.
This season, he was a gem. He got better as the season went on. Everyone else, Freddie was great. It was just, yeah, he was coming into a crap team, and if I'm being honest, at the time they should have got rid of Pawlicki instead of Zach.
Yeah, because they re-signed Zach.
Even though they put it in a way that they recalled Zach. No, you didn't recall Zach at all. He didn't want to go back. He only went back because he wanted the opportunity to prove himself. Oh, I better shut up, otherwise I'm not going to be very popular. Yeah, it's not my fault. I like calling people out on their bullshit.
Yeah. But yeah, like it was never a successful team. It was never one you'd tip for the title, but it was one that you would hope did better than nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I was hoping they'd at least finish above Kings Lynn, who've got 2 points deducted from them
for postponing a meeting when they didn't need to.
Exactly. It's just like, hello. No. But yeah.
Yeah, I think Oxford were a solid team. They probably, with the riders they had, they probably should have done more though than to finish
Yeah,
fifth.
they just sort of lost steam, didn't they? They
Mm,
went full on into the season full of steam, but then it sort of just dropped off.
yeah,
So I'd say that they just ran out. The team just ran out of steam.
mm,
There was nothing else in that really. I don't think.
no, it's like Ipswich. I say it also ran out of steam, but they're so badly injury affected that well, they lost their top two riders. Their top two riders made up the bulk of their heat leader points.
Yeah, true.
So you lose 2 9-point riders, you're gonna feel it.
Oh, definitely. They had my hit for the title, I think, at the start of the season. But again, that went well, didn't it? But like I say, congrats to Bellevue for winning the league again. You know.
I feel like on paper the grand final between Leicester and Bellevue should have been closer than it was.
Yeah.
Especially with Frick in the Leicester side because he knows a National Speedway Stadium. I know there isn't much of a home track advantage there, but he knows the track.
Oh, definitely.
So yeah, I feel like Leicester should have pushed a lot harder for the Premiership title than they ultimately ended up doing.
Yeah, they sort of just rolled over
and
let Bellevue give it to them.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry for the innuendo there. I had to. Sorry. No, I'm not. Anyway, yeah. Like I said, they sort of just went, okay, yeah, I've had enough now. I don't want the league that badly. You know?
Yeah.
I did say in the car when we were on the way to the setting leg last week, I said it will come down to who wants it more. And it did.
Yeah.
Because you could tell that Bellevue wanted it more than Leicester did because Bellevue were making the traps.
Yeah.
And they've got some guys on their team that are terrible gators, and they were making the gate. I mean, I wasn't expecting Vulas and Mulford to get a 5-1 in the second heat. I was thoroughly expecting it to be a Leicester 5-1.
Yeah.
I like Vulas and Mulford, don't get me wrong, but I was thoroughly expecting it to be a Leicester 5-1. Well, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like there should have been more meat to that playoff final than there was.
Yeah.
It's not quite the demolition derby. You think back to old top division finals.
2022 Bellevue versus Sheffield.
No, that one was a close one, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about ones where one side clearly ran away with it.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Like 2019, Swindon versus Ipswich.
Yeah.
But it wasn't as bad as that, but it should have been closer than it was.
True.
I think to be honest, it kind of reminded me a lot of 2019, the playoffs in general, actually.
Yeah.
Because I remember back in 2019, when Ipswich knocked Poole out, I thought that, okay, right, whoever out of Swindon and Wolverhampton win the other leg wins the title. Because Ipswich weren't going to be either of them.
Yeah.
Back in 2019. And it kind of felt the same. Once you looked at how close Ipswich pushed Leicester in their semi-final, you could just about feel that whoever the title was between Bellevue and Sheffield at that point.
Yeah.
It wasn't quite as bad because it was less obvious. Leicester at that stage were coming off of a high.
Yeah, true.
I
didn't expect them to crash so badly off of that high. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. But looking back, looking back at this year's, it feels the same as 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Just for different teams.
What is it? My dad said the most boring final he's ever watched. But yeah, enough of that. Apparently the championship final last night was more.
Apparently there was controversy there. I didn't watch it, so I can't really say an awful lot.
Vinnie Ford and an Oxford fan had an altercation. Apparently, that's all I heard.
Vinnie Ford and a fan had an altercation.
Yeah, apparently they had a shouting match across the fence.
Okay, well, the SCB hasn't put out a press statement saying we are deeply concerned and will be investigating this sometime next year. So
basically, nobody cares. It's the end of the season. I think it was just the Oxford fan giving it large and then being a twat, and then Vinny was just like, "Oh, fuck you! We've just won the league." You know what I mean?
It reminds me of that time. I can't remember who it was. I think it might have been at Manchester, but someone threw a bin at a fan, or a fan threw a bin at.
No, Jason Doyle kicked a bin and
that was it.
A fan.
The good old days.
Yeah. Championship, honestly, Poole, absolutely no surprise, like at all.
No, I still don't fully understand how Middleload does it. I know that Wimborne Road is a bit of a fortress, but I don't understand how he so consistently manages to put together sides that win leagues year after year like he does.
He's just got that magic touch in it. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, unfortunately, it completely ran out every time he was Team GB manager. But
yeah, but again, we don't need him as Team GB manager anyway. But nah, it's one of them.
Yeah.
Congrats to Poole and all that crap. I really wanted Oxford to win it. I can't lie.
Yeah.
Because that might have made it interesting. But I reckon Oxford will get their revenge and win the KO Cup, so it's fine.
Possibly. It's Poole Oxford again, isn't it?
Yes.
Cup, yeah.
Well, they've been, apart from Scunthorpe as well being fairly good this year, Poole and Oxford have been the only two teams that have been really good all season, if that makes sense. From the little I've seen about the championship this year.
Well, I've seen none of it, so
I think I've been to one championship meeting and I didn't even get to see any racing. So
sounds about right. Where was this, Poole?
No, it was at Oxford.
Oh, okay.
Was that we've spoken about it? It was that meeting we went for.
Right, okay.
The hospitality thing.
Sorry, when you said racing, I thought passing, not as in the tape didn't even go up. Okay, fair enough.
No, the meeting where we got settled, we've been fed, and then we said, "Oh, there's going to be no racing after all," but we've got a BSN on in the bar for the Poole meeting. Oh dear. But yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
Other than that, that's sort of it.
It's just those two. It's just those two remaining now. Leicester
in the National League again sort of really didn't have much competition, I don't think.
Well, it's the National League. I'm still in favour of just let the National League be. I still resent what they did to it. How do you mean?
They fucked it up, didn't they? Because you go back to the late 2010s, the mid 2010s, late 2010s. You've got several clubs. Most of them are standalone clubs. It's a decent league. You've got a cup competition. You got playoffs and stuff. But now it's just a shell of the former league, and it's shit now. I speak to a lot of fans when I say this. They go, the thing that fucked it up the biggest was bringing in the nomad club rule, because that's a stupid rule. So you got clubs like Cradley then that can't compete.
Well, that was ultimately what saw the Isle of Wight withdraw, and that I'm still annoyed by that.
Yeah, because they're doing well in their own little Nora thing, aren't they? Which, to be honest, is what everybody should do, or can't we? Just abandon the BSBA and go and join this Nora thing. And do it properly.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm still firmly in favour of just kind of letting the National League be. Like, they're young, upcoming
riders. They shouldn't have intervened. Because if they hadn't have just intervened, Mildmore wouldn't have dropped out. You wouldn't have had Kent dropping out. You know, they should have just let it be, you know?
Yeah.
And it makes me wonder, because I've been hearing chatter recently that Wolverhampton and Cradley are on about building a joint stadium. Are the league gonna let them run that? Because of the stupid nomad rule? Are they gonna say, well, technically one team's a nomad team?
Well, Sheffield, Scunthorpe, they don't have a problem with that. So
obviously not then.
Even though that makes no sense.
No, it doesn't make any sense. But again, say you had that and Birmingham lost Perry Bar, you could build a track that could house all three teams and make it work. Say you could have two Premiership teams and a Championship team, or two Championship teams and a Premiership team.
Right, okay. So the one thing I can't see them going for is having two clubs in the same league with the same home venue.
Okay, so it'd be so one Premiership, one Championship, one National League team. I don't know, unless they change the rules somehow.
Well, the idea of having two clubs with the same home team at home stadium, not in the same league, makes sense, because otherwise you just end up with a big dispute over who's the home team. Like,
well, no, because you just designate. Well, you're the away team tonight. Wear yellow and white. It's just one of them. Because you need to be able to think things through like adults. Oh wait, this is Speedway we're talking about.
I was about to say that.
On the same page as usual.
It's a BSPA. Do you really think they can understand that?
No, but anyway.
I mean, just look at this table. Like, this league table is an absolute mess.
No, true.
But yeah, I think I would say no. I think if you're going to combine Wolverhampton, Birmingham, and Cradley, then it needs to be one club, all three leagues. You can't just have you can't have two clubs home venue the same in the same league. I think that's where I would draw the line anyway, because I can see that
it wouldn't be economical to run a team in the National League, especially with the state of the National League.
Yeah.
So it'd be something they had to talk about. But again, if it's a way of saving all three West Midlands clubs, then I'm sorry, it's a good thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because I don't know what's going on with Wolves recently. I've not kept in the loop. I know Cradley are still looking for a plot of land to build a track, and I don't know what the fuck's going on with Birmingham. Apparently, it's their last season at Perry Bar next year if they run. So I don't know what's going on. I'm not sure I really want to know what's going on, if I'm being honest.
As far as I know, for Birmingham, they haven't committed to riding as such
Not yet.
They kind of want to see where they're at the moment.
I don't know what to think, because yes, I'm sat here wearing a Bellevue Oasis hoodie. Get over it. The people who are listening that are Birmingham fans, they're the other team in my family. Get over it. But yeah, you know, this club has been in my life for a long time. I met my late best mate there, for crying out loud. That team is special to me, even if I don't show it all the time. You know what I mean? And it's just like, to see the state that it's in now seriously pisses me off, because I've spent 2/3 of my life supporting that club. I started going when I was 6 years old. I'm now 24. You know, it pisses me off a lot to see the state that the club is in. And that is the truth. I am known for being very on the nose and honest with people, so that there is the truth. It pisses me off. I want to see Birmingham succeed, even if I don't cheer for them all the time. even if sometimes I put a Bellevue hat on, like I did at the playoff final last week. Apparently, I was spotted on TV wearing a Bellevue hoodie, and I've said this in the past. I just like watching Speedway. I will collect other teams' merchandise as well if I like it. Hence why I also have Bellevue stuff.
Mm.
So I'm pretty sure we've talked about everything we really needed to talk about.
Yeah, we've reviewed the GP. We've previewed next year, Speedway of Nations, in the random place that it is in the calendar.
Yeah.
League's wrapped up. It's just a Championship Knockout Cup remaining. So,
and who's really that bothered about that, honestly?
will probably be Poole winning it anyway.
I wouldn't put it past them. It'd be nice to see Oxford win it, but I wouldn't put it past Poole, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's everything.
So that's us for season 2 of Drop the Clutch. Jeez, that feels weird to say, doesn't it? That's it for season 2. Now, where'd the year go? Yeah. What? Seriously though, it's considering everything, it's been a decent season for GB on the world stage. You got Lambert and Bewley second and fourth in the Grand Prix, and then GB have won their second Son Championship in less than 4 years. So
yeah,
not a bad year, but we'll see what next year brings, shall we?
Yeah, roll on next year. God knows what it'll be like next year.
Who knows? See if we've actually got a 17 Premiership still, shall we?
Yeah.
But that's it. We will probably do a live stream for the AGM to see to call out the changes, the bullshit changes that have been made. But other than that, that's it from us. So if we don't put out an episode, we'll catch you at the beginning of 2025. Fucking hell, that's a scary thought. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, and we'll catch you trackside in 25. See you later.
Have a good winter.